Alright guys, so we're at the aquarium store, Tiny Aquatics, and we're gonna go pick out a couple of little fish to add to our Hamilton poolscape. Alright, let's go see what we can find. Alright, so we are back from the fish store, and I purchased a few things for the aquarium, and we've got some button fern, which I thought would be so pretty back here. And I also got this Christmas moss because I think it's going to look really cool on this little branch that's supposed to look like a cypress tree. So this will kind of give it a cypress-like look. And I got some little chili rasboras, which are these tiny micro fish. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in here. But just so you can see them, we're going to get them put in there gently, get them to kind of calm down a little bit. While these guys are settling in and the water's acclimating, I'm going to work on getting this pump set up because this plant will basically just set in there. So we're just going to take our little tiny nano pump. These are the cutest little pumps. Super easy to set up. So we're going to just take this tube and this little piece here, and we're going to just plug that in. And then that just simply plugs into the back of this tube. But what I'd like to do first is figure out how I want this tube to run. And I think I'm safe to cut off enough tubing to where this filter will be able to just sort of hang on the back without touching the substrate. And then that way it doesn't take in any of that gravel and clog it up. We're gonna measure this tubing. Basically, I would like it to be somewhere at the top. We're going to figure that out, but we're going to allow ourselves enough tubing that we can make those adjustments. I'm going to cut it slightly longer than what I would need it, and then we can adjust it from there. So we're just going to take off the excess, and don't throw this tubing away because you'll use it on other projects. And then let's get the tubing securely pushed in. Onto the back of the pump. I clearly cannot multitask. And sometimes people will melt these under like hot water just to get them to be a little bit more pliable. I'm gonna keep it on the lowest setting so that we're not spewing water everywhere. And we're gonna set that filter on the edge here. Okay, we're going to take our pump again and remove it. I'm going to stick this in here. Now the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm thinking about not filling this tank all the way. I kind of like the way it's half full, and it gives me a little bit more of that cave-like feel, and I kind of like the way it looks. So for now, since I won't be mounting, I don't want to mount the pump too close to the gravel. So by putting it in this bag, I can kind of camouflage it at the bottom and then allow that water to go in, but not the gravel to seep into the pump. And I think the black kind of helps to cover all that, and it definitely disappears. And what we want to do is try to get this tubing to cooperate with us. So before I fill it up anymore or add fish, let's try to get this pump sorted out. I'm going to plug it in so we can see what we got, and then we can make any adjustments. And thankfully I have extra tubing, so if I did want to go any other routes and I cut the tube too short, I still have plenty of tubing left. Okay, that's a really nice flow, and it's already coming through the backside. If I put it here, we also get a little flow right here. Sometimes you can encourage the water to do things, give it a little start, and it'll trickle. I kind of like this because I have some flow here and here. So I think I'm gonna glue this down right in this space. I mean, honestly, you might be able to just have it set up there, but we're gonna see, because I can also cut this shorter, and then that way it will just trickle down and give me flow on each side. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut that right in here, and then let that just lay across the top. All right, and I just want to show you what this looks like from the back. And you can see kind of the mesh bag sort of just disappears. It's not an eyesore, it's not great, but once we get our plant on top of that, it's gonna hide it. Okay, so we're gonna take our little button fern here and go rinse off all of the dirt off of its roots, and let's see if we can get that tucked into that good soil. I may have to glue that guy down. We have all of our root system cleaned off. Oh yeah, we're gonna tuck that in there. And we're basically gonna take this, I'm gonna tuck it into this little corner, but instead of burying it, I'm gonna add more aqua soil and sort of build that corner up. And also it'll help to cover up some of the netting and things. And I don't want my fern to be underwater, and this will help bring all of that up so I don't have to bury it under the water. And then I'm gonna make sure that my opening to my net is covered, and I'm just gonna let that fall into there. Okay, we're gonna make little slight tweaks, and I think in order to cover this tubing, I'm gonna run it through the fern to kind of help it get camouflaged a bit more, if the fern lets me. And like I said, I may have to go ahead and just glue this down. So I think where I'm gonna glue it is on this back side, so you don't see it in the front, and it kind of allows the water to dissipate across more, and it looks more realistic. And it also disappears a lot better. So we're gonna turn off the pump, and we're gonna let that dry out a bit. Okay, so while this is drying out a little bit, I am gonna go and grab my Gorilla Glue, and we're gonna start doing some other plantings. And so we can kind of do a few things here. We can let this dry. We're letting our fish acclimate. And in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and place all of this Christmas moss and add some rocks. So we can be doing other things while things are sort of setting in. Okay, so we got our Gorilla Glue. We're gonna let this dry out a little bit more, and it should dry pretty quickly. While that's drying, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna add some of these little blue, aqua blue rocks to our pool, because if you've ever been to Hamilton Pool, it's got a bluish tinge to it. So I'm just gonna place these in here. Kind of breaks up the tank a little bit, which I like. You know, you got some darks, some blues, a little bit of everything. And strangely enough, it gives it a little bit of depth. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so one of the other things I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start working on putting my Christmas cactus in. And these usually come in a gel that they grow them in. And I always try to rinse that gel off. It's kind of gooey. It's definitely a gel. But look at how pretty that is. All right, we're gonna try a couple of things with this Christmas moss. And I'm thinking that it's gonna look amazing as part of this tree, but I wanna have it in different areas to really give it that cedar tree look. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna dab on, well, let's figure out where we wanna put it first. So we're just gonna basically pull off little clumps, And we're gonna just set these in different areas along the tree. I'm gonna do a few things with it because I don't know if it's gonna grow as well out of the water, if there's actually enough moisture. So I'm gonna do some of them in the water and some of them outside of the water as sort of an experiment. We're gonna dab on some Gorilla Glue. Set that on there. And we're gonna keep on building this up using our Gorilla Glue to keep things set. So I decided I'm gonna wait to put the other pieces of moss and use that to cover up this tubing. And I think that'll be a really nice way to kind of camouflage it and keep it really natural. We're gonna use a little bit of the fern for coverage as well as some Christmas moss. Y'all, I don't know how to do this, but I know these little clamps are good at holding things, and that's what I'm going with. I have never worked one of these in my life. Is it obvious? And if you're laughing at me, I'm glad I can bring you some entertainment, but I think this is gonna work. But I think it's gonna work out pretty good. And again, in the meantime, we're gonna add some of these little mosses and try to cover up the ugly. Oh, you can just set those guys right in there. And we're gonna camo that baby. I'm kind of feeling like a little piece right here could be really pretty. So I'm gonna add a little bit more glue. Let's give that some time to set up, let the fish continue to acclimate. I'm going to poke some holes in this bag now that the temperature sort of leveled out a little bit, and start letting that water come in and out and get them acclimated to the water. All right, everybody, so this is the next day, and I have released the little fish, the little chili rasboras. They are loving life. They have found little refuge underneath these rocks. So I'm assuming that in the wild that they probably do all of these things. They, when I bought them, they were in a tank with just water and like barely any soil. They didn't have any place to hide. And as soon as I put them in here, they're just finding all these little coveys and things to swim around. So I'm really happy about how I set all this up. So here's the waterfall, and it's flowing out nicely. I'm gonna add a little bit more moss, and that way you really won't see that tube. I do have some other plants I'm gonna be putting in, and this is how it's sort of happening right now. Now I will say that the moss on that right side of the branch has dried out. So that is not gonna work unless there's some type of water hitting it. There's not enough moisture in the air that I thought would allow it to go ahead and thrive. So, you know, I experimented, it didn't work. The water that's hitting it from the fountain or from the pump is trickling down enough to hit the left side fern or moss. It looks really great. I'm happy with it. Of course, I'm gonna make adjustments, but this is how it's coming along so far. So I have to be honest, and I'm sure that you can see it from your perspective, I'm not loving this light. First of all, it's just kind of like an on-off light. There's no adjustments. I've been really enjoying the full spectrum lights that have like a day to night kind of setting, so it goes with the daylight, and it's just a much nicer and more calming kind of light, where this is just kind of on, and I'm not enjoying that. So I ordered a new light that actually comes over and is higher, because I feel like this is really blocking the view and I don't like that at all. So we're gonna order the new light. It should be in, and I'll go ahead and post that later on. But as of now, I'm very happy with everything so far. I have my little fish in, and I am gonna stick another plant right here where this light is. And we are gonna try to hide this tubing a bit more, and I want a little bit taller plant to bring the eye out of the aquascape and have it feel a bit bigger. So you're gonna have more plantings, and then the water. It's not gonna be, I don't want it to be separate. I want everything to be one big unit. So even with having the plants higher, it's going to still be encompassing everything as one. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna move this light over while I work and we get that new plant put in. But we're gonna let the fish have some light while we do that. And yeah, everything's looking really great. I'm really happy. All the mosses are staying damp enough that I think they're going to continue to thrive. And I did buy some more moss, some new fresh moss that I'm gonna place around. I just wanted to kind of see how this all did before I bought more. So far, so good. Okay, so I found this little Araca palm. I thought it was really pretty, and it gives me the height that I'm looking for. I can also use just parts of this for this project, and I'll still have more left for other water gardens. So I've separated my palm. There was probably like 4 different pieces, like main pieces, but if you can see, each of these is an individual piece. So you could spread these out all throughout your aquascape or terrariums. I'm gonna keep them together because I like the bushiness, and I think that that's gonna hide my tube a lot better. So what I wanted to point out is, if you're gonna trim your roots at all, don't trim these little baby roots off, because these are the feeder roots. These larger ones usually are the ones that help it keep grounded and stable. The feeder roots, you need those. So don't like start chopping that away thinking you're making it nice and neat, because so then the plant will have a way to get its nutrition from your aqua soil. All right, let's get this planted. Okay guys, so we're back at our aquascape, and ideally I want to be able to squeeze this into this space. I have to be very careful because I don't want to pull my tube off even though it's glued down. I'm going to remove some of this grass that I had installed in here because we need to make room for our palm. And like I said before, that grass did not look like it was on its best leg when I bought it. So we'll see how it does. And we're gonna have to make room in here. Sadly, I'm gonna stir up some of this soil, but we're gonna get some of that inside. Get those roots tucked in. And then if you wanted, you could also add more aqua soil. And you can, like I said, you can trim those roots. Let's see. I think I'm gonna go ahead and trim a little bit, guys. Just enough, just a smidge. And then that way we can go ahead and tuck that in and get that set. The roots are gonna find their way. They're gonna get all their nutrition that they need from your aqua soil. And that definitely hides the wires and the pump. I have this cool little rock I've been holding on to, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and kind of tuck that in there to help hold everything back until this gets rooted in, but it also helps hold and hide that wire. But tuck it in, get it kind of wedged, and you can go ahead and glue all this in if you like. I may or may not end up doing that, but I'm not really planning on moving my aquarium very much, but we'll see how it goes. And I might have to add some more aqua soil just to give it a little bit more to root into. So overall, I am extremely happy. I'm gonna add a little bit more water. And I'll add some more moss. I'm gonna add some moss right in here along this edge to kind of give it a little bit more coverage on this tube. Or maybe I'll come up with a different plant to put in there, but I'm gonna try moss because that's what I have. If you have any other creative ideas of how to hide these tubes, I'm open to suggestions, but this is overall how my aquascape has turned out, and I'm really happy with it. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it if you watched this far. I hope you enjoyed designing this aquascape with me and learning with me as I make my mistakes and embrace my successes. So I am very, very happy with everything, and I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope it inspires you to make your own aquascape. Have a good day, guys. Bye.